Haribo. Om Gyantimirandasya Gananjala Shakaya Chakshorun Yamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Radhikaya Kriyatmane Shri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Narayani Iti Namani Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namani Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Prashadne Nirvishesh Shunyavadi Paskachadishatarane. Welcome, everybody, to class 8. And so today we're going to start with an IFS meditation based on one developed by Dick Schwartz. And then we're going to go into a demo focused on fear of singing. So the 8 C's of IFS, helpful to have fresh in your mind for this meditation, are calm, compassion, confidence, connectedness, clarity, curiosity, courage, and creativity. So right now, take 2 breaths. And for today's breathing, start by placing your hands on your belly below your navel. This is not part of the Dick Schwartz meditation. Um, and just go ahead and take a deep breath, expanding your belly. And for the next deep breath, place your hands on your lower ribs, and this time expand out your ribs while you take your breath. And we'll get into the meditation. So think about a protective part you would like to get to know better or change your relationship with. Could be a critic. Pretty much everyone has an internal critic, or it could be some other protector. Now focus on this target part. See if you can locate it in or around your body. Once you've found it, see how you feel towards this part of you. If you feel anything that's not one of the C words, I'll go ahead and repeat them: calm, compassion, confidence, connectedness, clarity, curiosity, courage, or creativity. If you fear it or want it to go away or even feel dependent towards it, ask if it's willing to relax, ease back, and give space so you can get to know this this other protector. And if it's willing to separate and give some space, notice your heart and mind opening up more to the target part. If that doesn't happen, it means the other part isn't willing to give space. And you can spend the time getting to know that one instead. If you're getting to know that one instead, you can ask about its fears, what might it fears of what might happen if it did step back, and so on. If you get to the point of being curious or compassionate, for example, toward the target part, there's enough sense of safety to get to know it. A safe, open-ended question to ask this part, or is to ask this part what it wants you to know. Wait for the answer to come from that place in your body. If you'd like, you can ask what it is afraid would happen if it didn't do this protective job. If it answers, consider expressing your appreciation for the part trying to protect you in this way, and see how it reacts or responds. Now you can ask if you could heal or change what it's protecting so it would be freed up from this job and responsibility. What would it like to do instead inside of you? Now, if you would like, ask the part how old it thinks you are. And wait for a number to spontaneously come. And if it thinks you are younger than you are, go ahead and update it. That timeline update of your life since that age and see how it responds. And the final question, ask the part what it needs from you in the future. What do you need from me in the future? And now thank the part for letting you know what it told you or letting you know it wasn't ready yet, if it wasn't ready yet. So stage fright now with singing. I'm going to start by normalizing stage fright with singing. And, this is a little more in depth, but normalizing what someone you're working with is going through can be really helpful because sometimes when people are traumatized or have some fears, they can feel like am I the only one who feels this way? So I can help to normalize it. And this is something that is particularly widespread. Um, I have it myself when I was very young. I used to love to sing, and my older brother and sister would say, "Ew, stop that. It's horrible." And they did that every time. And then in second grade, everyone in class had to sing one note, la, and mine came out flat. The whole class laughed. These kinds of things can happen with singing. So, and this, you might find this surprising, but there's quite a few famous singers that you might not expect who suffered from moderate to very severe stage fright with the singing. So famous singers who suffered and or continue to suffer from stage fright include Barbra Streisand, Andrea Bocelli, Carly Simon, Adele, Katy Perry, Eddie Van Halen, Cher, Donny Osmond, and Harry Styles, among others. Carly Simon endured panic attacks on stage since she was a child. In 1981, she suffered a panic attack and invited fans on the stage to help her. At the following show, she collapsed backstage prior to performing. In 1967, Barbra Streisand forgot the lyrics to one of her songs while performing in Central Park. This triggered her performance anxiety, and she stopped performing live for nearly 30 years, afraid that could happen again. After therapy and anti-anxiety medication, uh, back then, chances are she didn't receive the therapies that I'm teaching. She again sang live. Still, she would only perform with a teleprompter to provide the lyrics as well as what she said in between songs. Adele would get quite physically sick. And Katy Perry acknowledges she still gets nervous performing in front of large crowds and says she often feels sick before going on stage. Opera singer Andrea Bocelli identifies stage fright as one of the biggest issues of his life. He said, "A voice is very intimate. It's something of your own. So there's always this fear because you feel naked. There's a fear of not reaching up to expectations." So, so now we'll do a demo with Kosha Rupa. Kosha, welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, so um, is there anything you'd like to share about what you experienced with singing?
Well, it's been a combination between, yeah, the ridicule, the teasing, the insecurity as a child and as a teenager, and and then being in a singing movement. I thought I was getting better at singing, and I'm always in the kirtan arenas, but and I'm fine. I love to sing, but not with a microphone. As soon as the microphone's there, and then it becomes it's no longer blissful meditation. Then it's like the anxiety comes in, and it not to the point where it's panic attacks. It's just where you need your vocal cords to be very loose, and you need to be relaxed to actually sing nicely. And so it's just been something that I've been conscious of for my whole life. And when we were talking about the internal family systems, I was thinking, well, maybe this would be a way to address whatever part it is that's trying to protect me from embarrassing myself or embarrassing others that I'm singing with. So,
So would you like to find the part who gets anxious and afraid when there's a microphone, when there's a performance of singing, of kirtan?
sure.
See if you find her, and maybe it's a tension, a feeling at first. See if you can locate the part in or around your body.
It feels like right here on the collar area.
Mm. See what else you notice about her as you focus on her.
It's a him.
It's a him as you focus on him.
Yeah, it's a protector. He's a protector.
Hmm. Do you get a sense of sort of what he looks like, what he feels like?
Almost seeing or envisioning a cartoon muscle man who's like gonna make sure that nothing comes down and nothing down here comes up. Interesting.
Mm. Mm. And as you get to know him a bit, how do you feel towards him?
Oh, I feel affection.
Mm. How's he responding to your affection?
A certain level of pride. He's been taking care of me since I was very, very young, young child, a very vulnerable situation.
Mm. Ask him what he'd like you to know.
That he'll never leave,
Mm.
that he's always taking care when I'm uh, inattentive, he remains attentive. When I'm just doing life or not paying attention to danger, he's always watching out like a guard.
Mm. How old does he think you are?
Oh, three.
Mm. Would you like to update him?
I think we better. So for those not in my head, what's going on is the dialogue that he firmly believes the reason I've made it through all these years is because he's been guarding me, because I'm too oblivious to too many dangers, and that he's done an excellent job protecting me throughout this entire life, which he has. So I'm just trying to broker a deal to negotiate uh, that he doesn't have to protect me when I'm singing, that he can let me sing, um, and he doesn't have to um, stop that expression and that um, from singing prayers.
So the part who's brokering a deal right now, thank her for her helpfulness and ask her if she's willing to kind of relax and ease back and give some space. Is she willing to give space?
Well, she's a little surprised you asked that because she was actually making some headway. So
Mhm.
why would we ask her to give us space when she's uh, very competent at negotiating?
Go ahead and appreciate her for her competence at negotiating. Let her know you really appreciate it and you appreciate all she's done. And maybe let her know that you're in a session right now of IFS and that IFS works best when self approaches one part at a time.
Mm. Okay, she sat down. She's curious. She'll be passive for a while.
Oh, thank her for that. Does she want to be in the gallery and
Uh,
watch?
she's good.
Okay. So refocusing on this protective part, ask him, well, first, invite his response to the update. What's it like for him knowing your actual age?
Mm. More relaxed now.
Mm. And how do you feel towards him now that other part's giving space?
Mm. Like we could be comrades instead of yeah, more of
Mm.
a more of an equal relationship.
Hmm. And ask him, just say, if we took care of who you're protecting or what you're protecting, if we could change that and you were freed up from this responsibility, what would you like to do inside of me, in my system?
Go on vacation. Um,
Let him know you get it if
huh?
you'd like. Yeah, he's been working hard protecting. Maybe ask him what he's afraid might happen if he stops protecting in this way.
He's actually conceding that he'll be relaxed and he'll take time off and he'll uh, just check in with me instead of being on guard all the time.
Mm. Ask him where he'd like to go to relax.
Oh, the Caribbean.
Okay, go ahead and help him find a relaxing spot in the Caribbean.
Okay.
And also let him know he's always welcome back. And now that well, let me know when he's situated in the Caribbean.
Yeah, he's heading there. So
Uh, and now that he's giving space, see if you can find, a part who's maybe quite fearful of singing with a microphone. Maybe the part that he's been protecting, or one of the parts he's been protecting, if he's been protecting more than one part. Where is she located in or around your body?
in the throat.
Mm. And what do you notice as you focus on your throat and focus on her and your throat? What do you notice about her?
A child, a very young child who's staying very quiet, hiding, very quiet, Can't make any noise.
Mm. And how do you feel towards her in this moment?
Oh, so sad. So concerned,
Mm.
knowing her trauma.
Are you feeling her sadness, or is it more like compassion, what you're feeling?
Mm. Um, yeah, just yeah, sad as an observer.
Mm.
But
And is she,
I can also feel her pain. I'm also feeling her pain and her fear and her anxiety and her trauma.
mhm. See if you can invite more of just a little more of that open-hearted compassion and self-presence. Just kind of easing back a little bit on the empathy. Is she aware of your presence and your attention?
Yes, I've been just thinking that to somehow release her so she can just be a child again and have fun and enjoy singing and laughing and because that was all shut down.
Mm. So the part who wants maybe has a bit of an agenda, wants to change her in some way, is that part willing to kind of relax and ease back and give some space?
Sure.
I thank her for that. And thank her for her helpfulness also. And now that she's giving some space, do you feel more space as you focus on this part in your throat, this vulnerable part?
Yeah, it's definitely the tension's opened up. It's like there's sun rays inside.
Mm. And how is she responding? Mm.
It's not like she's there now. It's like there's just feelings and the awareness.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Definitely relaxed, and there's pretty colors, and there's some sunshine, and there's other. Whereas before it was like just mm, like almost like a cave of tension and darkness. So now it's opening up to the sunshine and to the colors.
Mm. How old is she about?
5.
Mm-hmm. And you get the sense she's aware of your presence and your attention.
Yes.
Mm. And how's she responding? Do you get the sense that she feels a little bit safe with you?
Yeah, there's trust.
Mm, wonderful. Let her know you're here to listen, witness anything she wants to share. And she can share to you, or if she'd like, she can share through you to me. Does she have a preference, or do you have a preference?
She said she'll share to me, and I can.
Mm.
Um,
So as she shares, um, just you can express your understanding by just saying, I understand, and inviting her to share more. This is her chance to share for herself and to be understood by you, to be heard.
okay. Mhm. She's sharing that she's lonely and she's hurt. And that she likes to dance in the sunshine, but she has to hide a lot of the time. And she likes to sing, but she doesn't want anyone to hear her. Doesn't want to let any of the bad people in. So she has her fortress, but her fortress is made with flowers. And no one can see her hiding underneath the flowers. She can't trust the adults in her life, so she hides from them. And now the sunshine and the flowers are gone, the colors are gone. And the sadness is rolled back in. She doesn't know what to do and she doesn't know where to go. She's trapped.
Ask her, is there anything she wants or needs from you right now? Like, would she like you to to bring her out of where she's trapped and bring her to a safe place, maybe a safe place in the present.
Yes, very much so.
Let her know she can leave behind anything she'd like to leave behind, even like believe something she might believe from what she's experiencing, or and then she can bring with her anything that's precious to her. And when she's ready, invite her to reach out her hand and let her know you'll take her by the hand and escort her to a safe place. Would she like to come to the present with you?
Yes.
Let her know you'll bring her to a safe place in the present.
Okay.
And is she in the present?
Mm-hmm.
Would she like any orientation about the present? Is there anything she'd like you to share with her? Or you can give her an orientation if you'd like.
I'm holding her hand and we're in front of Radhe Shyam in Alachua and having darshan. With a very sweet kirtan going on in the background.
How's she feeling?
A bit in awe of this other world.
Mm. Let her know you understand, you get it.
And a feeling of belonging.
Mm. Let her know you're glad if you'd like.
I'm sorry, what?
Oh, let her know you're glad she feels that feeling of belonging if you'd like.
Mhm.
Ask her if she'd like to unburden some or all of her fear and pain. Does she feel like she'd like to unburden?
Yes.
And let her know she can unburden with wind, water, fire, or earth. Or if
Oh,
she'd like, she can offer her
wind.
fear,
Let's do.
wind.
Yes.
Uh, and would she like to unburden in front of the deities also? Where is she now?
No, mountaintop filled with flowers. And so,
Beautiful. Invite her to, and with her, both of you invite, Krishna says of purifiers, I am the wind. Go ahead and invite a healing, a Krishna healing wind, and let her know that she can just offer, let go, release her fear and pain into the wind. And just let me know when that feels complete for her for now. Invite her to take her time. Mm.
She's telling me that I can keep this vision of her dancing in the wind, in the sunshine with the flowers, because that's the wind is connected to singing voice. It's all done with the wind. So I can keep this vision of her playfully, happily dancing in the wind.
Mm. And if you like, let her know you'll keep that vision if you'd like.
Oh, I love it. Feels like we can work together very nicely. Not, we can play together very nicely.
And Kosha, do you feel like leading a little bit of that kirtan in the temple room?
Yeah, I'm happy to lead kirtan. Yeah, I've got to see if there's some other part that has a problem with the microphone. Um, mm,
You can ask, you can start by asking that protector who's on vacation, is he okay with that?
oh yeah, he's fine. And then I'll check in with my, okay, my 5-year-old little girl is happy. She said we can do it together. We can sing together.
Mm. And does your little girl want to uh, help you sing the lead, or would she like to sing the response? What was she like?
She's definitely singing with me.
Hi.
Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine.
Chai. Thank you, Kosha. How was that for you?
It was really good. It was, thank you. You know, when I was staying with you in Maui and I was leading kirtan at your house and at the Temple of Peace, and I always had this ability to sing no problems in Hawaii, but other places, I always just, figured it was allergies and this and that. But I remember we actually did something together in Maui, but I always needed more, and it was really uh, wonderful. This my 5-year-old girl who is very sweet. She is like she wants to still, be a very important part of it, not protecting, but helping with the wind and the lungs and the singing. So that was a new discovery. But I was always intuitively feeling like you would be the one to help me get through this. And of course, yeah, both with the trauma therapy and with your kind, encouraging friendship.
Oh, well, I love your voice, so that's easy. Ask her if she would like you to check in with her, like, and how often. Daily is ideal after some retrieval and unburdening. It's an adjustment for the part.
Yeah, we'll definitely check in every day when we sing together.
Beautiful.
It was interesting also. In my life, I always collect children around me. I write and storytell. I write books for children, and I'm always doing storytelling with children and dancing with children. And it's just always been that way. When I was in Puerto Rico a few weeks ago, a little 3-year-old girl decided that I was her honorary grandmother, and we're keeping in touch. She just had her 4th birthday, and but we're keeping in touch because she wants me to be her grandmother. So uh, is very interesting. She doesn't speak English, but we have this bond that's very real. So I guess it's all the fragmented parts in my internal psyche that have been kind of left behind that are grateful to have children their age to connect with.
Could be. Could very well be. Yeah. And let me check in with that protector that we started with the focus on. How does he feel about what just happened with that 5-year-old part coming to a safe place and unburdening? What's his response?
Uh, he's very relaxed now, and he's says he'll come when I need him, but he's happy to stay on vacation. But if I need him, just call and he'll be there for me. So that
And
feels
would he like you to check in with him, And if so, how often? I mean, he's on vacation, maybe not as often, but would he like you to check in with him sometimes?
he said I can visit him in the Bahamas.
Okay. Try. Oh, well, thank you, Kosha. Thank you so much. And really appreciate your volunteering for this. And that all that singing was spontaneous. I might actually run off and do a little focus with my I'm afraid of singing part.
Yeah, actually, I remember you've done that too, where you've said, "Oh, I can't sing, I can't sing." And that is one thing I've edited out of my vocabulary. Not to say I can't. I don't want to ever reinforce that. And because
Ah,
I'm in the singing world, and I'm often the one encouraging and pulling other people to come and sing in the kirtans, and giving people who either haven't had the chance or are afraid to take the chance. So I'm happy to be in that role of bringing others together for for singing and helping them overcome their um, challenges. And that's, partly why I volunteered for this, but also it's just, the throat chakra is our self-expression. So that's where a lot of people get hung up. So this is very helpful for myself, but also helpful for sharing with others. There's one dear friend of mine who teaches singing, and she said she has to, she said, almost everybody, I have to be a counselor therapist for them before I can teach them singing. Because anyone who's stuck learning to sing, it's because they've got something stuck here, some kind of self-expression, or as you said in your case, um, some kind of discouragement or bullying, or a harshness that shut them down from singing, um, or maybe some other kind of uh, trauma, or something where they haven't been able to express themselves either through speaking or through singing, or both.
well, I'm
So
really glad this class is giving you more tools to help people because wow, what a service. What a fantastic service in our kirtan movement and the importance Srila Prabhupada and all the acharyas placed on singing and kirtan and that's a lot of what Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda also did. Kirtan. Jai.
thank you
Thank you.
so much. Thank you, everyone, for hanging out while I was in another space and place.
And it also can be helpful and reach out to me anytime. I'll help you with that. But it's also can be helpful to have an expansion resource spot for singing.
Okay.
Actually, one of the demos in the training was overcoming her fear of singing. And and the teacher Lisa Larson suggested that she she looked towards her expansion resource spot while she's singing and then back to the audience.
Oh,
So that can also be helpful.
oh.
And
Why
thank
you
you, Kosha.
that why you have your pointer out?
Um, and well, for a time, I'll go ahead and start the pointer's just always here, but I'll go ahead and start, some teaching about what we just did. And um, thank you, Kosha. So, um, I want to mention that a recent meta-analysis study found that IFS therapy effectively reduces symptoms of depression as well as anxiety and trauma-related disorders. Um, and so now I'll get into some teaching about, mostly what you just witnessed. That was a really good example of working with a protector and a vulnerable part in one session, and that can happen quite often. Um, so so the so there's the 8 C's, and now we're going to get into the 6 F's. When someone comes with an issue or behavior they want to change, something they want to shift, the first step in the 6 F's of internal family systems is find. So I often ask, where is the part located that is most connected to this issue or most impacted by the issue in or around your body? Someone might intuitively initially not notice a part so much as emotions or tensions in or near the area of the body when focused on the issue. Um, uh, Someone, might notice a, a protective part initially. That's quite common. And so the second F is focus. Focus on the part. If this is scary or aggravating, that's probably a sign there's another part. The mindful noticing what is going on with the part and what the part experiences begins the unblending process of a person's soul or self. So it helps with that. And you notice I asked it more than once. It's part of the parts detection. So you get to the point where the person's soul or self has that self-awareness, and the part having awareness of being in the presence of the person's soul or self. Those are interchangeable. Soul is self. You can invite the person to stay with the experience. You can ask, is the part aware of your presence and attention? I did ask that question. The third F is flesh out. What does the person notice about the part? How does it look and or feel? Not everyone gets a visual, and that's fine. It doesn't matter. Or the visual might shift and change. How does it seem? What else do you notice? Is there anything the part wants you to know or wants to share about its story? This helps identify the part as having needs and feelings. And, for some parts, that's a really new experience, actually having that positive attention from someone. What are you feeling? What do you need? Um, the fourth F, how do you feel towards the part? If the response is one of the 8 C's or other positive qualities like curiosity or compassion, then self is present, or there's enough self present. It doesn't have to be 100%. Self or soul creates the healing and transformation for parts in IFS. If the person says the part is who they are, there is a need for more unblending before self is present. And that was kind of the case. There was a part who you may have noticed sort of took over and started a negotiation. That part had an agenda to change how the part was protecting with that protector. If the person says something like, I don't like it, I want it to go away, or I feel frustrated towards it, or maybe I'm fed up with it, uh, and then that's also a sign there's another part or parts present. They can be addressed and heard and understood and asked if they're willing to relax and give space temporarily. So it's kind of a judgment call. You can just go right into, are you willing to relax and give space and, appreciate your helpfulness? Parts really are more willing to give space. Protective parts in particular are generally more willing to give space when they received a little appreciation that this is not a rejection, that this is just how this therapy works the best. Um, or the other option is, is there anything you want me to know? Letting that protective part express their concerns, and then asking if they're willing to give space. So, um, assuring protectors you will not go anywhere without their permission can help. And that's true in IFS. We don't bypass protectors. We don't say, oh, get lost. We're going straight for the most vulnerable part. Um, we don't go there without their willingness to give space, without their permission. So, and if they don't give permission, the attention goes to that protector. Offer reassurance, listen to and address fears, update. And IFS parts are welcome and they're not pushed away. The fifth F, befriending. Ask questions. Get to know the part better. You're facilitating someone to get to know their part better. Self or soul develops more compassion and understanding towards the part through this. Why does the part do what it does? Does the part like her or his job? What are the part's positive intentions, hopes, and fears? This helps build trust between the part and the soul or self. The sixth and final F, fears. Once the part is aware of the love, acceptance, compassion from soul or self, the person can be guided to ask about fears, or if it's direct access. In other words, we asked Kosha's part if she wanted to speak directly through her. The therapist or helper can ask that directly if it's direct access. What are the part's biggest fears? What does the part fear will happen if it stops doing what it's doing? Self or soul can appreciate how hard a part has been working. By focusing on fears and getting to the core, a vulnerable, wounded part may emerge. This is the exile, the more protective part or parts have been protecting. So approaching in exile, it's a sensitive, gentle approach. These are parts who are carrying painful emotional burdens, and they're often, scared of being seen, or it might be the first time that, like, whoa, they've been so protected by protectors. Sometimes they're afraid of their own protector, especially if they have a critical protector or a angry protector. They can be afraid of their own protector also. They have been, these vulnerable parts have been abandoned, abused, perhaps shamed, maybe neglected. They may carry shame, fear, sorrow, grief, and other pain. They may have adopted painful negative beliefs about who they are and what life is like. Like, I'm not good enough, life is scary. The exile may be a pre-verbal infant, in which case the witnessing is less storytelling and more about, love, affection, attention, caring for basic needs. Sometimes a part just, needs to be their diaper changed or needs something to eat if they're neglected. Uh, and quite often the part just wants to be held if they're pre-verbal, and not even just if they're pre-verbal. A lot of times parts want to be held, You can guide the person, ask, what do you want or need right now? Or you can ask the person if the part's pre-verbal, what do you feel like the part needs? Does it feel like the part would like to be held? It's a reparenting that happens. So the 6 Fs may be repeated with the exile. Um, it's an intuitive process. You don't have to, initially it might be helpful to just sort of, follow the protocol. And then as you get a little more confidence and experience, you can adjust, according to what's happening with the person. So this is followed by, with the vulnerable part, witnessing. Once there's trust, inviting the exile to share her or his pain can proceed. The person is witnessing, which means listening with compassion. And I might guide someone to just, and I did, to respond with, I understand, and invite the exile to share more. So, another thing that happens that I've noticed happens quite a bit with exiles is that there can be another part who speaks for them. So you can watch for that, and invite that part to give space. So the exile, for maybe the first time, quite possibly, to express and speak for his or herself. Um, with direct access, the therapist or the helper is the one doing the witnessing. So next step, reparenting. The person's self-soul can ask the part, what do you want or need? And can provide for those wants and needs. If the part has shared a painful and or scary event from the past, um, so, or you can even guide the person to invite the part to share a scary event. That did not happen in the session we just did, but it does happen quite often. Um, the person can ask if the part would like self or soul to enter the scene and provide what the part needed at the time, such as protection, reassurance, love and affection, just presence. That might be what the part just wants someone to be there so they're not so alone. And then the next step, unburden or retrieve. Now that can happen in either order. So sometimes the part is unburdened where they are in time, and sometimes uh, it just by instinct retrieval. When the part said, "I feel trapped," I felt like let's offer retrieval first in the session we just did. The person can be guided to ask the part, "Would you like to unburden some or all of your pain? What would you like to unburden?" Would you like to unburden your negative beliefs? This may be followed by, would you like to unburden with wind, water, fire, or earth? For devotees, I tend to quote Krishna of purifiers, I'm the wind, if that's the part's choice. I will refer to the water and fire as sacred water and sacred Agni or fire. With earth, I might invite the part or person to provide a hole in the earth and fill in the hole after the burdens have gone into the hole. And then maybe the part or part wants to plant a sacred plant or tree of their choice. Um, and, feel free to, this is, my personal approach, feel free to use your own creativity. Um, And I personally, I tend to add helium balloons for young parts as an option, and deities for devotee parts, as I feel inspired. Sometimes parts may think they are their burden, or they have lived with their burden for so long. They fear what it would be like without it. Sometimes parts are afraid they won't exist if they unburden, so they might need some reassurance. Helium balloons enable the part to experience what it feels like to hold the strings of the burden or burdens before letting go, knowing that they can pull it back, so it's like a step. Sometimes parts want to put the burden balloons in storage for later access until the part feels safe without the burden. So that can happen. Um, Retrieval. Invite the person to ask the part, would you like to come to a safe place in the present? If the part doesn't want to come to the present but wants to get out of danger, would you like to come to a safe place? So that can be a co-creation of an imaginary safe place. Kosha's part was uh, seemed to feel quite comfortable and safe without a separate safe place, so that didn't seem to be needed. The part may need reassurance that the presence is safe. So I find that a lot with parts who have been abused um, uh, by men, or if they've been abused by women, it could be the other way around. And maybe the person is in a relationship or married, so they may need reassurance that that person is a safe person. Let's see. And then the person or therapist will assure the parts he or she can go back and forth between an imaginary safe place and the person's life at any time. And also, if they get bored, they have somewhere to go if they get bored. If the adult self is doing boring adult things, I think last session I mentioned taxes. It's tax season, so that could be particularly boring for young parts. Um, Invitation of positive qualities. We kind of substituted leading a kirtan with the demo. So you may ask, what quality or qualities would you like to invite in to fill the space where the pain was? Also, what beliefs would you prefer to have and would you like to invite in? And then next step is integration. I prompt the person to ask the part how often the part would like a check-in after the session. Daily is considered ideal for integration. In the training, they said a month is ideal. That's the ideal. Check-ins are brief and not full sessions. Check-ins can be oral or written, depending on which is easier for the person to access and hear from the part. When I have clients who have trouble sleeping, I'll also often suggest that they do a little journaling, particularly if it's sort of repeated thoughts in the mind keeping the person awake. So they can invite the part to express what the part would like to express before they go to sleep, and the person writes it down. And that way the part knows not only have I been heard, but it's written down so I don't need to keep repeating it. That I've seen helpful for people who have challenges sleeping. And, not always, it depends what's causing uh, uh, the lack of sleep. They may need, more therapy, more sessions, but that can be an initial approach. And then towards the end of the session, I will prompt the person to invite back any parts who kindly gave space and thank all their parts. I I don't always do that, but it's a nice thing to do. And yeah, so now we can open the field for questions, comments, feedback from a previous session. Pranada.
I'm wondering if you could, I did another brain spotting session and it appears that a part showed up when the person was trying to process on their expansion spot. And I didn't know what to do with the part because it was blocking the work.
Mm-hmm.
So not knowing what to do, I just asked if it could retreat for a while so that she could do the work on the brain spot, and it seemed like maybe that worked. But do you generally do work with parts if they show up in brain spotting? And
I mean, that's one of the great things about having some IFS training. along with the brain spotting training is it's great for that kind of, interweave, that kind of how to approach when blocking is happening and how to honor the protector.
So do
And
you
you
go
you
in?
you instinctively did that. So you have really good instincts.
I didn't know what to do. I was like, I think that's a part, and we're not going anywhere until we figure this out. But so would you actually do some part work? Like work with that part that was blocking it to make the space, or actually even work with the part, or just try to get them to step aside so they can do the brain spotting? Any suggestion?
Yes, and it depends.
Okay.
So if so in a situation like that, if I notice that the part was not wanting to give space, um, I would put the wand down and, we'd have a conversation with that part. Yeah. Do you have any follow-up question?
No, I'm good. I'm just
Okay.
trying.
Isabella,
Hi, yes,
welcome.
it was a lovely session. Thank you. Um, I have run into like doing parts work with clients, I've run into sometimes where a client will like have a really hard time conceptualizing parts and like maybe even be a little like, oh, I don't understand what you're doing, or I don't can't even imagine what you're talking about. And then I'm not, sometimes I'm like, I don't really know how to move forward from that when they have that confusion. And I was wondering what your experience is in kind of approaching that.
I'm glad you asked. Confusion is a common protector. So you can actually approach the confusion as a protector and just kind of, and also sometimes people who have trouble accessing part sometimes they have an easier time with direct access. So that's where, you can invite their part to speak directly through them, or you can just notice that there's a part speaking directly through them. So that's where, it's yourself or soul approaching the part directly. And sometimes people who really, have challenges going inside. Um, and maybe after some time of direct access, maybe they'll have an easier time, approaching their parts directly. Or maybe after some expansion brain spotting, they'll have an easier time. It's just there's options and choices, and it's really about trusting your own instincts. And confusion is a common protector. I'm glad you brought that up. So you can address that confusion part, the part that's generating the confusion directly.
The other thing too that I've experienced is where maybe the client will be able to conceptualize parts, but when I ask questions about like the imagery around the part, then I know you did kind of bring this up about maybe it's not always necessary to like get very visual with the part. So in that case, you would really work mostly on a sensation level or more in like the just thinking about what is the part's issue, even if like because sometimes also I have clients where they don't even do body sensations well. So if they
Mhm.
can't access visual imagery and they can't access body sensations, I don't know how to work with the parts in that way.
Uh-huh. Well, you did a really good job conceptualizing, three options and any one of those. And it's very common for people to not get clear visuals. It's kind of, fun for the therapist when they do. Um, so it's very common that they just maybe feel something, uh, maybe they feel tension or something. Um, and for your clients who don't feel either, um, uh, maybe they do receive some information or some thoughts. And if none of that is happening, and if it was me, I would go for some expansion brain spotting if it was me. Um, and maybe if you asked, multiple IFS therapists, maybe they would have different responses how to, approach someone. But, if they're not accessing, then there is protector, chances are multiple protectors who are protecting from the accessing. So, there is a protector that you could maybe, do a little direct access with. And you don't have to say what I'm doing now is directly accessing your protector. You can just notice that that's what you're doing. It's an option. If you want to stick with the IFS and not, wander off into expansion brain spotting.
Thank you. I just have one more question. Okay.
Sure. We have time. I mean, I don't see a lot of hands up, so yeah.
The other thing I have run into is with some clients where they have like little to no access to self energy, and like how to develop that with the client in the moment when they're completely blended with the part, and how to start bringing, how do you develop more of that self energy when they really don't have much?
Well, one is, meditations. Like at the beginning of this course, I did that devotee style meditation of circumambulating. Um, there's an IFS mountain meditation where the person is going up a mountain, inviting their parts to, here's a nice meadow, here's a nice view, here's a nice, as they're going up the mountain, and reassuring their parts they'll be back soon when they go down the mountain. Um, and I just completely changed that into circumambulating Govardhan. But, with you working with people who are not necessarily devotees, there's the mountain meditation. There's also just helping them notice times, resourcing, helping them notice times when the problem's not a problem, or when they feel some, you can throw out qualities of self when they feel some, do they have, and maybe they don't, but maybe they do, maybe they notice that when they're with their, for devotee, when they're with the deities, when they're in a kirtan, or if it's not a devotee, if they're with their pet, or, maybe they notice somewhere, somehow, where they can get in touch with, some of the qualities of self, some of the feelings that are not, what they've been, the pain that they've been carrying and living with.
So in the moment, like in the session, say if I'm working with someone's parts and it comes up sort of in the middle of while we're working with that there isn't enough self energy present, would you in that moment pivot and start trying to develop more self energy?
I mean, that's an instinctive choice. Probably, you know, when we go into, uh, you can always have someone take a couple of breaths, just kind of something calming. Although people who've had a lot of trauma and chaos, sometimes calm is not, calm is a distressing, situation. So it depends. It really depends on the person. You're, you know, it's kind of they call it expanding someone's window of tolerance. You can expand their window of tolerance for something positive, for some calm, and you may, need to check inside, like, I really want to help this person. How's my self energy? Am I, you know, wanting to fix this person? Is there a part with an agenda, maybe even a self-like part who just wants, you know, them to, I want to access a vulnerable part now, and what's this going on? So you may need to just kind of build more self-energy internally as a helper or therapist, and that helps the other person access their self-energy. Is kind of a mirroring that can happen. You might notice, not always. You know, people who have a whole lot going on, you may need just to take more time to develop the relationship, the trust, the resourcing, so that, so that they have a sense that therapy can be a feel better at the end experience. Once you get into trauma work, that's not always the case. Stuff's coming up that's been, buried. So I see some hands. Thank you, Isabella. Kosha.
Just a quick question. What's the most parts that you've encountered somebody having when you're working with them? Because it seems like I was surprised that there's like, oh, now you've got a negotiator, now you've got this, you've got that. So how many parts have you ever had somebody you've been working with show up?
Um, I don't do a lot of counting parts, but let's just say, I just say more than 10. So yeah, so I think the average might be around 7, but I'm not sure. I'm not, I, it, I don't want to even put an average out there, like expectations. It can vary. And also, you don't have to meet every part of the person in order for them to heal what they'd like to heal. So
Thank you.
you're welcome. Canada. You have 2 minutes.
Yeah, just what do you mean by direct access? I didn't understand.
So you might have noticed with Kosha, we did indirect access. That means that Kosha was approaching the part and I was approaching Kosha. So I was not approaching the part directly. So direct access is, and I'll definitely, we have 2 more demos. So I'll do a demo. If someone wants to do a demo, direct access can be nice when you have polarized parts. If someone has, part of me wants this, part of me wants that, maybe they have a decision or some kind of polarization they'd like to do, reach out, because that lends itself to direct access.
So
Does that answer?
it's when you're talking to the part.
Exactly.
And they may not even know that you're talking to a part, but you know you're talking to a part. Is that the idea?
Either way, it can be known or unknown. Yeah, with my clients, it tends to be known that we're doing direct access. But, they, for the most part, my clients have been working with me for a while. So the unknown is more when someone's, maybe they're just getting started experiencing IFS. And so you're just kind of getting to that place. I have a general preference for indirect access just because it's empowering the person, and they get to feel what it feels like to be the soul, the self who's in a position to help the part. And with the goal being self-leadership, that's a step in that direction, when the person is supporting, witnessing, hearing, reparenting a wounded part, or building safety with a protective part. So thank you, everyone. Really appreciate it. And I will see you next week.